Hello and welcome to the 13th PlanetDestiny podcast. We have had way too much information actually drop this week. It has been just a whirlwind for the most part. We have the new patch that dropped on Tuesday, the 1.1.2 patch, where we got a lot of good changes. We got the PvP ammo changes, colorblind modes, audio changes, so much more stuff. Then what else did we get? Oh, we had on Monday the House of Wolves trailer, the release date. We had a bunch of info about Trials of Osiris, the Prison of Elders, a little bit of stuff there about weapon upgrades. There's so much to talk about today, but I think the first thing that we really need to address here is probably the largest change that actually came with the patch. It's been the most viewed thing on the internet right now. It's like number one on Google.
You're talking about the jukebox, aren't you?
It ain't the jukebox, man.
It's got to be the ball, man.
It's got to be the ball.
It's the ball.
It's
the ball in the tower. Oh my god, that thing is all, dude. When you kick it, it lights up. Like this is
when
like,
I play with the ball, I
goodness.
feel like Jesus with a universe in my hands.
I know.
Wow.
It's
Wow,
like
that's
getting
interesting.
light up sneakers as a kid. Like that's how awesome
It's
this is.
It's the same.
It is, huh?
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's the only 16-man activity in the game.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Play a little
Now-
Galaxy volleyball.
Uh-huh.
I have to ask you a really important question then. So is there just one, or is there two balls in the tower?
I there are two balls, and if the Iron Banner opens up, there are three balls, and
So
then four
we have
if we include the
three
soccer.
of these magic glowing balls.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Now, is there a new Destiny activity here that we're talking about? Like, is there something that we can get some people on and get a community event for the tower with these three magic balls?
I just noticed that there's three balls. That's Half-Life 3 confirmed, guys.
oh my,
Oh my!
Nailed it.
my,
That's it right there. That's
oh
it.
my,
That's it right
Podcast
there.
done. We're good.
my mind has just been blown.
Yeah.
All right.
Illuminati.
I think the real question is before we jump in, is there a loot table confirmed for these magic balls yet?
Not yet.
Oh,
We need more players on these balls in the tower to confirm what the end game is on them. We need.
It is so hard not to go dirty on this.
Yeah, I
the
think we're doing it
innuendo
pretty good though. We're doing a good job.
We were
Yeah.
good. We were doing good until then, Briar. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brian.
thank you.
Jeez.
You're welcome.
Way to go with that.
All right. Anyway, first topic of discussion, guys. We have. Okay. I sense that we're gonna have some differing opinions among us for the most part. The first thing to really bring up here is the Prison of Elders, and we are not getting a raid this expansion that we know of. Like,
Dun,
I
dun,
mean,
dun.
they said they are working on a raid for later this year, but that could mean with like Comet. That could mean with like something after Comet. We don't really know. What we know right now is that there is not a raid launching with House of Wolves. So let's go around the round table.
So I'll,
yeah.
I'll take this one because
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have probably the most negative opinion here, and I want to preface this one by saying I'm hypercritical of Bungie because I love the company, not because I'm a hater and I'm drinking the haterade. But the general backlash from the community is that, if you pre-ordered, I pre-ordered to get, the Red Ghost and everything. But I pre-ordered because I expected a certain amount of content to be released to me at a certain period of time. And not having a raid launched with the House of Wolves is a letdown in a way because, you sort of expect that 6-man activities are the largest activities you can play besides, the magic balls in the tower. And in a way, it is a letdown because a lot of the community expected to go in and enjoy another set of, raid progression that would, take you to the next level. And I know that there's a great portion of the community that will say that, all they do is play raids. That's why they play Destiny. They don't play PvP.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in it for anything else. So it's difficult really to say. But I'm for one am sad. I'm sad.
Well, I think one of the reasons why, I think one of the things you got to look at is why you're sad or disappointed. I mean, if some of this information, it's data mined, right? It's pulled out. It hasn't been announced by Bungie that there was ever going to be a raid in House of Wolves. So I mean, I think a lot of it is our own sort of looking at the game, data mining it, right, and pulling out information and it's anticipation of what's to come. But I think what we have to look at, if you didn't think there was a raid coming, Wally, and you actually felt that, would you be excited about, if you didn't know that there was no raid, right? If you had no anticipation of a raid,
Right.
would you be excited about a new activity, like new content and new activity, something else to do in Destiny with House of Wolves?
So
Would you be excited about that?
I mean, the hypothetical taken to the point here, I would say yes. Content is content, and I can't argue against that point. That's like arguing insanity in a way. I'm happy for the content.
So I think some of the letdown and disappointment is of our own doing, and also partially if I'm going to be critical on Bungie at one point, it's that they haven't been transparent enough with us to know what's coming out in House of Wolves, so that they kind of got the community sort of let down, anticipating a raid, thinking that there's going to be a raid with every expansion.
Right.
And now that there isn't one, they're not seeing the amazing content that's going to come out, with Trials of Osiris and Prison of Elders and the new story missions and things like that, and armor and all that. I feel like it's unfortunate that we were anticipating a raid, because it's masking this new stuff that's coming out that I'm really excited about.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with you, because I feel like you're kind of laying it at the feet of the fans, the players here, because I feel like we have the right to kind of expect the content that we've kind of grown accustomed to. So when the game first released, it came with a raid. When we got our first DLC, it came with a raid. So, past history tells us, the next DLC is going to come with a raid. Everybody was expecting a raid, So to say that, to say it was leaks or, the database that got us ready for this raid, I don't think that's it at all. I think that everybody got used to getting a raid with each portion of the game so far, and we're not getting it.
Yeah, you know what? I actually, I agree with you there that it's, Bungie set the expectation. And they set an expectation that there would be a raid at every expansion, and that whole thing. I guess I'm not trying to place blame on any person in particular. I'm saying it's sort of disappointing that there was that expectation wherever it came from, right?
I think a lot of that expectation came from like the early data mine stuff about House of Wolves. We all saw that image that came up that said, House of Wolves, and here's what you can expect. Here's the story missions. Oh, there's going to be a new raid. And that was one of the bullet points. So, yeah.
But if you had never seen that, you'd still be expecting a raid, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So it's all these factors together sort of brought up the community to... I think I'm agreeing with you guys that, like, it's unfortunate that there's not a raid, because I think I was among a lot of people that was expecting a raid. And because of all these things that we're talking about, the data mine, the fact that they didn't refute that there wasn't going to be a raid, right, when that was released, and that all these factors kind of played us into expecting that. And I guess my point is that it's sort of unfortunate that that's what the focus is about right now, because I'm really excited about Trials of Osiris. I'm really excited about the Prison of Elders.
I am too. I'll be honest with you. I'm really excited for both of those. But there's deep down in my heart, I am disappointed that there's no new 6-man raid team activity.
Yeah.
Because that means that my raid team basically is going to have to wait till Comet if we get a raid then.
So, basically what we were talking about before the podcast started, one of the big things about Destiny is the community, and one of the big draws was the raids. So there have been, people have been formed communities just based on doing that 6-man content. Everyone has their 6-man team, and oh no, guys, so and so isn't here. We're gonna have to go find a replacement. But we saw this kind of thing happen in World of Warcraft, where in between the first iteration of the game and then the first expansion, Burning Crusade, the raids were divided into 40 mans, and then I think it was 25 mans or something like that, or 20. It was 40s and 20s, and in the next expansion, largest raids were 25, and the smallest ones were 10s. So all the big guilds that were out there just pretty much fractured, broke off, and everything. And I'm really hoping we don't see that actually happen with the Destiny community as well, because we have a lot of really tight-knit groups out there, but now it's going to be like, oh, it's time to go raid, guys. We got to do Prison of Elders. Oh, we have 5 people on.
Right.
Which 2 people are we going to kick out?
Right.
That would suck to have to deal with that week in, week out. In the best case scenario, we just, we'll divide our team in half. There you go. But for some of those smaller groups of, 4 people who maybe find pugs every week to come in with them, now they're having to leave their one friend out. Here, you're going to have to go out this week and go find, a group to do it. That sucks
It does
as well.
suck. I agree. There's a big thing that is said when the question of the community, sort of like, the stratification of the community is brought into question. Destiny's, one of its biggest strengths is the fact that the community is so close knit in a majority of cases. And when you sort of, not necessarily like let down the community, because I don't really believe it's, 100% Bungie's fault. But when the community expects something and it's not delivered, and then you sort of question whether or not the community is going to be able to stay together, because the 6-mans are very important towards the PvP side of the game. It is a worry. It really is, because, I play on most of my friends don't play Destiny anymore because they just got bored of it, because, they're avid FPS players and they don't really play as much as I do. I love the game, but, when my friends come back and I'm like, I can only play with 2 of you in certain cases, that is a letdown. So I think that's a great point. It's going to be difficult to see how a lot of the community takes to that.
The timing is really bad for this too, because this is the second expansion that's coming out, and it's the last one that a lot of people bought when they bought like the expanded edition or enhanced edition or extra edition,
Right.
whatever it was called.
The limited edition and the
Limited
Guardian
edition,
editions, yeah.
So this is people's kind of decision point. Am I going to continue with Destiny? Am I going to go and spend when the next big thing comes out, if that's Comet, am I going to go and spend however much that costs, or am I just going to move on to a different game? This is that moment for a lot of people, and I think Bungie really took a misstep here.
It's
true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there as well. It's weird that we can agree with pretty much all sides of this conversation.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're really going to have to wait to reserve judgment, because if this Prison of Elders things turns out to be insanely fun and most importantly replayable, because that's how it was kind of marketed, is it's going to be a heavily replayable activity. That might be a saving grace on their part. Yeah, the initial reception might not be good, but once people get their hands on it, they might really like it.
Sorry, the question I would ask you, right, is with Prison Elders coming in, and looking at Destiny prior to House of Wolves, has anything that's been introduced in the past not been fun for you? That's the question I would raise.
Inferno.
Yeah, I'd say Inferno mode. Yeah.
Okay, Inferno.
You guys didn't like Inferno?
No, Patrick.
I liked Inferno. I was cool.
I loved Inferno.
It was just Patrick.
Yeah, I'm the loud spoken minority on this one. I did not enjoy Inferno, but that's a topic on another podcast.
Is it because you didn't have a good shotgun? Is that why?
No, I had Fellwinter's Lie. I just didn't enjoy. It felt unfinished to me.
Okay.
So I'll just leave it at that for brevity's
I
sake.
think it's fair. Yeah, but like I said, the question, okay, besides Inferno, you're taking Inferno out, and that's semi unfair to the argument. But say we take it out, the question is has Bungie given us anything in the game that when they come in with the patch, besides the nerfing and the changes, but in terms of content, have they given you anything that has been like, well, this is garbage, I'm not cool with this?
The Queen's Wrath, I'd say Queen's Wrath.
Right.
Taking off the rose-tinted goggles and everything, no nostalgia, 7 months of nostalgia, but like just going, hey, Queen's Wrath, that sucked. That was effectively, here's some missions, go replay the story missions with a burn modifier on them.
Yeah.
That was it.
They there were second tier bounties. But to be fair on that one, Bungie's defense, they pulled that immediately because they saw the fact that it need a reform. And I think the argument here is that not necessarily that is there no raid? Yes. Does that suck? Definitely. But the fact of the matter is still that there's content regardless. There's a lot of that content. But I think the thing that maybe could have avoided this entire case of backlash is if Bungie was maybe a little bit more transparent on what we were going to expect with this DLC. Because if they told us a month beforehand, or maybe even 2 weeks before this patch, saying we're not 100% sure on this raid, probably not going to happen. We're going to cut it and we're going to move on to something else. That I think would have been fine for a lot of people, because then at least at a point they would have been able to prepare themselves for that. At the point now, it's more of a miscommunication than it is anything else, in my opinion.
I think it's fair to be excited for Prison of Elders and still disappointed there's not a raid. I think that's a completely fair position to take.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see new content. A brand new style of play in Destiny is very exciting to me. But the fact that there is no raid is also very disappointing.
Yeah, I think that's a very diplomatic way to look at it. And I want to say a lot of people in the community are going to agree with you, but I just don't think that's the case. I think a lot of people are ready. If you've been on Reddit, I know you guys watch and monitor Reddit and the Bungie forums. The backlash is there. I'm sure that the comment section of this podcast is going to have some livid individuals that are pissed off, and rightly so, because they think we covered the main bases that that's your 6-man team. Those are your bros, your buddies. You go in, you drop bosses, you get cool gear. And in a way now you're kind of breaking up that brotherhood, because that raid hasn't been provided. Is it a letdown? Yes. Does it ruin Destiny's future? No, I don't think so. But
it doesn't help it though.
Yeah,
it doesn't help.
It could hurt it.
I think it's gonna make. I think it's gonna make the. I think it's gonna make the next expansion very difficult for Bungie to sell to those people who got jaded because of it.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I think they're going to find themselves in a position where they have to be much, much more descriptive and try harder than they've probably had to try before to sell that expansion.
One of the major things that I saw on Reddit, I can't remember the poster, that he posted 2 straw polls. The first one was, what do you do the most in Destiny? And an alarming number were the raid. When I looked at it, it was like 50 or 60% of this straw poll. I mean, granted, it was only 3,000 people that answered it at that point, but 3,000 people, that's still a pretty hefty number for a poll. 50% of those people were saying the raid is what they wanted to do. And then, as Pope was saying about the reception, or them actually selling, or the next expansion, the other straw poll was basically talking about, are you going to play this expansion? And the highest thing was, I've already purchased it because of, X, or because of the season pass, because of the limited edition. So I guess I'll play it. That was the other highest answered thing. And a lot of the commenters were like, look, if I hadn't have purchased the season pass, if I had just purchased the Dark Below on its own, I wouldn't be buying House of Wolves because of this info that had come out.
Right.
So yeah, Bungie has a difficult road ahead of them regarding actually selling, the next expansion, much less this one as well. Just
Can
due to that one thing.
Can I ask you guys a question? Is if they just upgraded the Vault of Glass and Crota's End to be like have a new hard mode of level 34, and you'd get new level 34 gear out of it, they already said that they're going to upgrade the legendaries to 365, like the Fatebringer. That's at least what it appears that they're saying. If that was how you earned it, if you went back into the Vault of Glass, ran it at level 34, like difficulty, and that was how you earned that stuff, would that help with the situation at all? Because it would give you a new reason to go back into those raids.
But in a way, I think that's a temporary solution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that content has already been provided, and the community knows what to expect. So like raising the level cap on it, while dope, and I would totally do it because I love the way the VOG gear looks. I would totally go back, and even with Crota, some of the Crota gear looks pretty cool too. I would totally go back just to get that gear, but that's like putting a Band-Aid on a geyser. You know,
Yeah.
it's not going to do much. I think it will alleviate some of the negativity that has, you know, come with this no raid news. But, you know, at the same time, I think we all are kind of in agreement that, you know, no one really, I don't think we can jump the gun until we see more of this content, because, you know, they're spending the next, you know, 2 weeks here going to be showcasing some of this to us, so we have a good idea of what to expect when we actually play it. And I think in Bungie's defense, that is a very smart thing to do. Instead of just releasing it and say, you know, in words, here's what to expect, they're going to show us on Twitch, you know, and probably, you know, playbacks, that this is what you're going to be doing. And I think that may help the situation a lot more.
I agree. I definitely am liking that they're going to be streaming the content before it's actually put out. One of the I need to find a new game to reference instead of World of Warcraft. But like one of the biggest things in World of Warcraft was seeing footage from the public test realms of, hey, here's this boss that they opened up for 2 hours for people to go test. And, you know, you have all this footage floating around on the internet for, you know, almost a month before House of Wolves is going to drop out. We're going to be seeing stuff on trial. We're going to be seeing video from Bungie on Trials of Osiris of them streaming it. We're going to be seeing video of the Prisons of Elders. We're going to be seeing all this stuff so we can actually not really form an opinion, but we'll have an idea of what to expect coming from it.
Yeah.
That's risky business too, though, because if they just give away everything that's in the DLC, then what really is to look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, you know, they could present it, you know, in a pretty bad way, you know, that people may not like it. Be like, oh, you know, this just looks like, you know, cookie cutter nonsense. So there's a lot of risks going in both ways. I think the biggest risk is staying silent. And I think they know that, you know, the biggest risk is no risk, really.
If they had shipped this with no raid and not said anything about it, that would have been a bad move.
Oh yeah, they would have. It's akin to shooting themselves in the foot. You know, the community's already pissed off with the news.
Yeah.
So you could imagine how mad they'd be if they had no news.
Imagine
I
if you
think
had raid groups just sitting there waiting, and then all of a sudden, wait, where's the raid?
Yeah, there's no raid at 12 a.m. or 2 a.m. when the DLC drops. No, I think really the solution calls for, in a way, you know, obviously, I don't work for Bungie and I don't expect them to take my opinion seriously, but I think transparency on issues like this is the best solution. You know, if they're transparent and say, this is the reason there's no raid or whatever, or, you know, maybe there's a raid coming further down the line with comment, who knows. If they show us sort of their game plan in a way and kind of what we are supposed to expect, I think that would cause a lot less clamor for reform in the current system.
I think I think it would be cool if they came out and just said, look, there's not a raid coming with House of Wolves, but with Comet, there's going to be 2 raids or something like that. Like that would be
something to add on to it. Yeah.
You know, just sandwich it.
I'm thinking that the Comet looks a lot like ODST.
Okay, so
does that make sense?
Yeah,
like
kind of.
It's like a game. It's like almost its own game. I think when I think of expansion, I think of like what ODST was to Halo series, right?
Right.
It's I'm hoping that Comet is of that size, right? That it allows us to see a lot more content, and I think they're going to spend a lot. I think they're going to have to spend a really hard look. I'm going to reiterate it. I think they're going to have a lot of work to do to sell it.
There's a lot of stuff that could possibly happen there.
Definitely, I wouldn't start speculating.
No, not at this point. We still don't know all that's going to be coming with House of Wolves.
Yeah, and a lot of what we thought was like a no-brainer is not happening. So to look farther into the future at a bigger expansion is hazy.
I mean,
right, and I guess what I'm looking at, and I don't want to like start. I'm with you, Briar. Let's not talk about like the content of that far out. But all I'm saying is that by the end result of us coming to a point where House of Wolves doesn't have a raid, and the reaction that the community is having about it is going to make the job of Bungie to get people to buy the next expansion that is not part of some pre-order, right? It's going to make their job a hell of a lot harder. And I guess that's my only point, is that by things ending up the way that they did, they made their job harder down the road, and the content is going to have to be that much better.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, to be really fair here, with the initial release of Destiny in the first place, there was a huge hype train on that, and you talk to a lot of people, they'll tell you that hype train let them down big time. So
Right.
in a way, and even with Dark Below's addition, in a way, Destiny is sort of already in a hole. Not necessarily from the number, why the numbers don't lie. There's a lot of people who play this game, and I love this game, but in terms of a much broader, expansive community and the current community, Dark Below released and it was sort of murky. People received it really weird. A lot of people liked it, some people didn't, and that turned a lot of people off to House of Wolves. And then you go into the next one here. There's no raid. That's going to turn even more people off, right? And again, I think the biggest problem with this whole argument is that we haven't seen anything yet.
We haven't
we've just
seen
been
Prison of
told.
Elders.
Yeah, we haven't seen it, and
Right.
I think it's unfair to make to call a position educated without seeing the whole picture.
No doubt. And I'm excited for Prison of Elders. I can't wait to see it. What I hope it is that it's like really deep end game content that's going to keep me going until comment.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is though, so we'll just have to wait.
it was I think it was billed as, a highly replayable in-game content. Wally, we were talking about this before the podcast started, but like the only thing that's really replayable right now in that sense, or the most replayable thing, is the Crucible right now. And we kind of have to look at why that is. Like for the Crucible, when you go into a Crucible match, aside from knowing who your opponents are and what weapons they're using, you don't know what's going to happen in that match. You can check their Grimoire score and be like, oh, he's a Christmas noob here, he has an unupgraded whatever from Xur, and then you just end up getting destroyed by him because it turns out he's like an ex-COD or COD MLG player or something.
Right.
And if you look at PvE, unfortunately, that's where the divide comes in MMOs a lot of the time. Is PvE is scripted content. You know exactly what is going to happen going into it. If you go into a Crota mode or a Crota thing, you know exactly what you have to do to defeat each encounter. Yeah, hiccups may come up, and you're going, oh, well, guys, I got to solo the rest of this section or something like that. But, getting from point A to point B are all pretty much the same path. So what actually has to happen for this Prison of Elders thing to actually be replayable? That's what I'm really interested in actually seeing. I think right now a lot of the community's seeing or kind of relating it to World of Warcraft dungeons and raids. The first one being Trial of the Crusader, where Blizzard tried something new, and they're like, okay, we're going to make a raid that doesn't have any trash mobs in between bosses. It's just going to be an arena.
Right.
And you're going to do bosses in this one arena. And people hated it. The reception of that was god-awful. But the other dungeon is, I think, Violet Hold or something like that, where you have to go into a prison and defeat a bunch of the bosses that are held inside of the prison. Sounds a little familiar as far as Prison of Elders is concerned. But one of the key points of this to keep it replayable was that there are 8 or 9 possible encounters, but when you go in, you're only going to be doing 3 of those encounters.
That's cool.
So
that'd be great.
Yeah, so like think about that. If you went into this Prison of Elders thing, and this is just me spitballing, we really have no idea what it's going to be, but if it was something along those lines where, hey guys, we're going in this week, let's see what happens, and first boss is a vandal with a sniper rifle that teleports everywhere, and everyone's like, oh god, I hate this one, so
yes,
yeah, and then next box comes out and he's pretty much a loot pinata as they're called. You just kill them and there you go. Yeah, so we don't know what's going to be coming, but it sounds promising at the very least. I am very interested in playing it.
Yeah. I mean, the whole counterpoint to the negativity and the backlash has been, in my opinion, is that we can't make a full educated judgment or have like a really solid opinion without seeing that content first. Personally, like I take the stance that, again, I think it's a letdown that there is no raid, because that those 6-man teams are going to feel that for sure. But the counterpoint to that is, they've already delayed this because it was expected in March. So they've already delayed it. And what I think we can expect with that delay is whatever content they're giving us now is going to be very polished. And, and I think we're going to see that next week. Hopefully we see that next week. Is a very polished experience as opposed to the way Dark Below kind of released, which was, in my opinion, not necessarily super polished.
I think one of the worst parts about the Dark Below release was the weekly updates that followed it, or the lack of weekly updates. Like 2 days after Dark Below came out, weekly update dropped, and people were wanting to address all the obvious issues that came with it. And instead, we got an article about the voice of Eris Morn, which was really interesting to read, but that's not what the community wanted. And then to further add flames to that fire, we didn't get a weekly update for like 3 weeks after that, because it's too close to Christmas. Oh, it's Christmas. Oh, it's a week after Christmas. Oh, we're still recovering from hangovers from New Year's. So that was like, Bungie, WTF.
I think that's a good criticism.
I think they've also learned from that. I mean, look at the quality of the weekly updates that we've gotten in the past month. Just look at that. That's insane. The amount of stuff that they are showing us. And I think that Bungie's getting better. They really are getting better at communicating with us. So if anything that we can take away from this one experience of them, saying, hey, no raid coming, is that they're going to be a little bit more transparent regarding issues like this in the future.
I hope so, because, when Deej came on the podcast last week, that was kind of the thing that we talked to him about a little bit was, transparency. And, we didn't necessarily ask him the hardest questions in the world because, as community representatives, we don't want to lose that line of dialogue. We have an obligation to our, here at PlanetDestiny to make sure we keep that dialogue. But at the same time, we also have an obligation to the community, because we have that dialogue in the first place, to ask the tough questions or to be critical and say, these are the things that we may not like. So I agree with you. But I don't necessarily think we're going to see more transparency from Bungie.
I think maybe not more, but refined transparency.
A better version of what they're currently giving us. Yeah, and to be fair, if you take a look at 2014 and really 2013 in a nutshell of the way games were released broken, they're released messy, they're released unpolished, because the consumer generally would buy those things because they expected a polished experience, because that's what they've been getting for the past 10 years in reality. There were a couple hardships there. Bungie really, with the start of the new year and sort of the backlash from 2014 in terms of like other developers and everything, I think they've taken a really good step in the direction of saying, look, we're not ready to give you this on March 19th. We're going to push it back to May or whenever, so that we know that it's ready. And that's probably the best response to things. If something is not ready, don't launch it, because all you're going to do is shoot yourself in the foot, say, glad we got content, but it doesn't work. I think the real question the community should be asked is, do you want a raid that is working half the time or not a raid at all?
I think we got that with Crota anyway. Enough doom and gloom. We've been pretty critical of this raid thing. I think we should move on and view some of the other stuff. First biggest thing that they announced with a really killer image is the Trials of Osiris.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! Like if you look back,
that armor looks amazing.
If you look back at the podcast, I think the thing that we've been talking about the most has been the Trials of Osiris, what we want from it, and everything. And now we're actually seeing it confirmed by Bungie. It's not just data mined info now.
This is the first time they've actually mentioned it publicly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see, if it is, what I think players expect it to be currently in its current state is like the 3-man version of Iron Banner with, the unique way of getting in with the ticket. And of course, that's all pre-information without them explaining anything, so that could be completely wrong. And honestly, I expect that to be wrong.
Yeah, like I expect that to be wrong too. Like what we data mined was that it's going to be a 3v3 only on Burning Shrine.
Mercury.
That just sounds weak.
And there's no way, in a standpoint for a standalone game mode like that, especially in a PvP setting, there's no way it's going to be on one map. That makes no sense.
No, it.
Yes. So I think, I think it's cool that they're legitimately giving it to us at this point. I think the armor alone, the way it looks aesthetically, is a great reason to play. That's pretty much the only reason I'm going to play is because I want to look like an Egyptian god and go in and go ham. That's
if I'm
that's good
if I'm
for me,
remembering the picture correctly, it looks like each armor is kind of representative of one of the Egyptian gods.
There's actually so many reasons I'm looking forward to this. One is we get a brand new way to play the Crucible, which is awesome. We get new gear, we get new armor that looks different than all the other stuff, so it's another way to customize your Guardian so you don't look exactly the same as every other Guardian at the tower. And 3, the weaponry looks amazing.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait to get my hand on
just that
weapon.
hand cannon, and it's in either an auto rifle or a pulse rifle, something, whatever they showed. Oh my god, that looks awesome! I can't wait to see it, to hold it to actually grind the rep or whatever I have to do to obtain this gear. I can't wait to do that, to actually hold that hand cannon in my character's hands.
Which one are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the jewel of Osiris, is I think.
Yeah, the hand cannon.
Okay.
Jewel of Osiris.
Yeah, that thing's beautiful.
Yeah, and what were you saying, Brian?
I hope it doesn't work like Iron Banner. I hope they come up with a new system, so it's not just grinding rep like the Iron Banner is. I hope it's a completely different system.
From what we've data mined, like as far as like the way you're supposed to earn Fate of All Fools, something tells me that it's not going to be like Iron Banner. Like what we've data mined for Fate of All Fools is that you have to like win X number of matches, and then what we know about the Trials of Osiris itself, of you have to buy your way in, or you have to get an invitation, or buy your way in, and then you can only lose 3 times in a row or something like that before you're out, and then you have to buy your way back in. So yeah, that's pretty big.
But
That's
again,
cool, and it's like high risk.
Yeah.
You know, it's very cool.
We're gonna see a
tense.
lot of really good 3-man teams running into that. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, but again, to be fair, that could be not the way it
that could
works,
be
too.
not the way it
Oh,
works.
absolutely.
So
It could be a 1v1 playlist for all we know.
yeah, who knows? And I like the 3v3 setting, but again, not trying to bring back the doom and gloom, but if they made it a 6-man setting or just an any man setting, like a 4v4 or 3v3, and you had options, I think that would play to a lot of the strengths of saying, look, it's not just 6v6 or it's not just 3v3, because Iron Banner's great, but in a just 6v6 control setting the entire time, it kind of, why not some Iron Banner Clash, or some Iron Banner Salvage, or Iron Banner Skirmish.
Iron Banner has become the only time I play Control now, because I play so much of it during the Iron Banner that I never go back to it in between.
Yeah. So it's I think I think the way they've sort of talked about it in the past is that it's not as easy as we think it is for them to just throw on different playlists and change values around, because from any programming standpoint, from the way I understand it, I'm sure if Tefty was here, he'd be able to give us a lesson. But if you input one value, there's a chance you can ruin your entire product. So I mean, like I said, I'm curious to see how Trial of Osiris is really gonna play out. I'm excited, but I'm very curious to see how.
Do you guys think it's going to be a permanent thing, or will it be like Iron Banner and it'll rotate out?
I think it'll rotate out.
No.
I mean, either way, I'm gonna play it until my eyes bleed. But like, I really want it to be a permanent thing.
Me too.
Like that. I think that would be a cool setting for, that competitive thing. That might come into Destiny at some point, for all we know.
I really don't like. I understand the rotation with Iron Banner, and that makes sense, right? But I dislike the rotating playlist that Salvage is sometimes up, and Double Skirmish is sometimes up, and Inferno came that one time, right? Or it came twice, I believe. But I think if they give players more and more options, and we've talked about this in the past and how it kind of works, but if Trials of Osiris is one of the big staple points with the DLC, I feel like it should be there permanently. If it isn't, I'm with you, Patrick. I'll still play it all the time.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop me from playing it. But giving players as many options as possible, I think, is a great strength that Destiny tries to play to. The flip side of that, though, is that when you have all these different playlists up, sometimes it can be very difficult to get matches because you've got, 1,000 players here, 1,000 players there, and 15 players here. So, there's pros and cons to everything, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think the one thing that maybe, we kind of talked about here is the upgrade pass for legendaries.
Yeah, I'll be bringing my 365 Vision of Confluence into the Trials of Osiris. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm there with you. With the pulse rifle buff now, Praetus Revenge Praetus Timepiece and Revenge, both of them are very good. They're top class weaponry in their respective classes. So my question to you guys is, do you think you're going to go back to VOG or however it is, do you think you're going to spend the time to upgrade all of your weapons again? Or are you just going to pick a couple?
Right now, like,
that's the thing. We don't know how it's going to work. Though.
Yeah, we really don't. We're just going to have to wait and see what the weekly update brings. I think they said they're going to cover it, or they're going to show it in the weekly update this week on Thursday. At least I hope. Yeah, just that teaser picture of seeing Fatebringer next to 365 attack is just like, well, no matter what, I'll be getting that. That was my biggest.
You'll have to. It's the best weapon.
Yeah, that was my biggest criticism against it in the Fatebringer and Word of Crota review. It's like, look, when House of Wolves comes out, we don't know if there's going to be a way to upgrade it, and so it's like, well, okay, there's a way to upgrade it. Just Word of Crota, toss it out the window. You don't need it. Actually, keep it for void damage, but otherwise, just only keep one of them. Get 20 Fatebringers. Fill your vault with them.
And I watched that video and it made sense. The amount of enemies you're fighting and the perks that are on the Fatebringer just outweigh the Word of Crota, and just it's such an unfair way, in my opinion. So
they outweigh almost every other gun.
It really does. I think all except for maybe you can argue against the timepiece maybe as not being as good as it could be, but. The sniper rifle is, again, I think the best sniper in the game in terms of PvP wise, just because of the way it can react. Maybe, there's arguments for and against that. The Found Verdict is still a powerhouse in PvP.
I mean, the only weapon that's really kind of lesser than all of the other ones is Atheon's Epilogue, and that's only because it's in that high rate of fire archetype of auto rifle.
Sure.
If we're just considering that particular archetype, Atheon's Epilogue is probably one of the best ones out there for it.
Like me personally, I feel like I have OCD. If my weapons are not upgraded in my inventory, they don't have the yellow box around it, I
hope
freak
you upgraded
out.
your black hammer before the patch.
Yeah, you must hate that gun.
No, I did. Thankfully, I'm good. Mine's cool. I don't have any problems with that. But no, I think the upgrade pass is something that a lot of people have been asking for, because one of the largest criticisms has been this, legendary copy debate. Everyone is in a way a legendary copy of each other. And with the Iron Banner gear being level 32 now, more recently, that's sort of alleviated that. And then, of course, I think Deej also said something today about transmog and, private matches being on their top.
There were
top
three
list
big
like
things which he said in a forum post. Transmogrification, for those who don't know what that word means, you can make your items look like other items without affecting the stats. So if I want to look like I'm wearing Iron Banner gear, but I'm actually wearing a blue set of gear, or vice versa, I can do that. And then another thing was weapon skins / shaders. So I think that one video that got posted a while back might have hit a good point there to show what you can do with something as simple as that. And then the other big thing was private matches. So we might actually start seeing it. That right there was the biggest thing to me, because we had, when we were talking to Deej, he said the community is what will foster a competitive scene. And if we can get private matches to ease the ability of doing a tournament, just a private tournament somewhere else, that would be huge. We would be able to actually organize it.
That's that game on switch there.
It really is. Yeah.
Esports will
I can tell you right now,
just pick up. Boom. Done.
Yeah. I mean, a couple balancing things, aside, and, the rule book and everything like that, just the amount of player base that Destiny has, if esports is taken into account and is supported by Activision, and Bungie, it really does have an opportunity to be one of the strongest console FPSs on the market. Even if you look at trends, Halo hasn't done as well as it could have done with a lot of the errors, on 343's part. Call of Duty is kind of on a downslope in terms of revenue and the amount of people it brings in. Bungie is in a really, really good position, in my opinion, to sort of pick up and say, look, we have the newest, best thing that everyone's playing.
They already do have
but,
the best thing as far as gunplay is concerned. Just go to any other, shooter game and tell me what has better gunplay. Like, as far as consoles are concerned, Destiny is king. Just absolutely king.
There's a hard argument against it, but I think, again, we brought this up last podcast with Deej, and his point was that only, like 20-30% of the community play PvP actively, or really, really actively. So, you can't, I think they're in a tough position to cater to everybody. They want to cater to everybody, but they have limited resources, so it's impossible to do.
But if you bring in private matches and then popularize Destiny being played competitively, guess what? Those numbers are going to go way up quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because people are going to see their favorite YouTubers, favorite streamers playing competitive Destiny, and that, Bungie only gets to profit off of that. That's free advertising. That's getting free people in there, and it'll be fun to watch. Watching Destiny getting played competitively, I think could be
watching
really cool.
just watching high-end players actually play. Like, I went and just watched Triple Rex stream the other day, and it's just noticing how a player moves is so cool. Noticing their game sense, you start to learn off of it as well. So just private matches. Thank you, Bungie, for I should also say that those three things that we just mentioned are not like those aren't confirmed coming for a patch right after House of Wolves release. It's not coming anytime soon, but.
No, but they were mentioned in a similar way that expanded vault space was mentioned.
Exactly. It's like they have a habit of going, these are the things that we are, that we have heard from the community. And then mysteriously, like 2 or 3 months later, they show up. So, maybe by the time Comet comes out, we'll see these things being implemented. And then maybe that will be, as Pope was saying, that'll be one of the selling points for Comet.
A lot of changes that we got, though, today.
Oh, God, yes.
In this new 6 gigabyte update. How long did it take you guys to download it?
After I had to
Sir Wallen, I don't want to hear your answer.
I'm gonna be honest. I was hung up at like 84% for 10 minutes.
5
really?
whole minutes.
So it was a total of 11-minute download for you?
Yeah. I think at my house it took about 15 minutes.
You guys and your West Coast fast internet stuff. I'm over here in Tennessee. I gotta get my internet through like some tin cans tied together with strings, also known as Comcast. I got a 20 down, 5 up connection on good days, and it took me 3 hours, like 3 or 4 hours. I only got to play the patch about 45 minutes before we started this podcast today.
I didn't get much time on it either.
And I was awake for when the patch immediately hit. I was like, okay, it started downloading. It's not going. It's not going fast.
It started off at 30 minutes, and now it's up to 4 hours.
Oh, now it says 11 hours. Okay. and that was actually not due to the tin can internet. That was due to their servers probably getting rocked hard by everyone downloading it.
Oh, yeah.
So we talked about the raids earlier, but I'm really excited that the raids that do exist are getting some pretty significant patches here. Like really good ones.
The main thing for me, like the things that I hated about Crota, they've fixed all of it. Fantastic.
I'm now looking forward to Tuesday's normally my raid night. We're gonna move it to Wednesday because we're recording the podcast tonight. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Crota not immediately stand up to do his sword attack. And not seeing the sword immediately disappear after we kill the sword bearer. Stuff
and knowing
like
that when you pick up the sword, that's when the timer starts, not from when the sword is dropped. So we should see. Honestly, I think we'll see some faster kills happen with Crota now because we'll be able to perfectly time those sword smashes.
Well, more consistent, because I think that the frustration is that your whole team's watching you, and I'm the sword bearer often with my group, and your whole team's watching you, and then they see Crota I think everybody sees him kind of act funny or like stand up too soon, or that's you build this internal clock or timer of how long it takes the sword and how many hits you can get in, and when that doesn't, you're looking at like half-second decisions.
Yeah.
And when it's thrown off, Crota will stand up and kill you, or not stand up and do a tiger uppercut and kill you somehow. And you're like, I think that's frustrating as a sword bearer, and it's going to be really nice to just be having some planned out attacks that you don't have all these surprises.
I'm the sword bearer a lot too, and that's kind of the weird thing about being the sword bearer. Yes, you get to be in the limelight, you're the center of attention, but when something is completely beyond your control,
it's your fault. It's your fault.
Your whole raid team's like, yeah, whatever, Briar. Sure, he stood up too fast.
Right, sure, yeah. Are you sure you didn't jump too late? No, I was out there on time. His animation hadn't even started. He hadn't even turned red, and he's like standing up to kill me.
Briar, what'd you do with the sword? It was there.
Yeah, I saw it. You ran up to it. Did you drop it? Did you throw it away? What did you do? What did you do, Holtzman?
Dude, the sword disappeared. Why didn't you? Why are you taking so long to get it?
I just love running out there and seeing the circle like disappear as I'm trying to pick up the sword, and then I'm just standing there, going, guys, help!
This is a wipe, guys. I do enjoy still running Crota's End, especially on normal, where it's a little bit more of a fun experience. It's not quite as crazy. Vault of Glass is getting some fixes. I still think Vault of Glass is the best content in Destiny. And I'm actually going to make a concerted effort to go in and check out some of these improvements. Because,
absolutely.
Vault of Glass is cool.
I think this week is the first time I've actually run Vault of Glass again, in like a solid 2 months. Not because, I'm so tired of it, but it's like, I have no reason to run it. I have right. all the exotic weapons in the game that you can get from Vault of Glass, and you don't need the gear anymore from it, at least that we know of. It's because it doesn't go up to light level 32. The weapons don't go up to 331. So
at least they fixed the exotic.
Yes, finally. So it's like, okay, great. I have no reason to run Vault of Glass. Well, I ran it this week just with some friends, and we ended up 4-manning the entire thing because we were like, let's just see what happens, and we made it through. It was fun.
It is. It's a fun raid. There's a lot of different moving parts, opposed to Crota's End, where it's just about this one person like soloing an experience. Vault of Glass really feels like a team experience.
And I agree. I mean, like, I just yesterday we tried to do a speed run of Vault of Glass just to see what we could do it on hard after having not done it for a while and coming back and seeing what our new light levels and see what our fastest time was. And we jumped in and went through, and around 37 minutes was our time.
Wow.
And I'm thinking that the Vault of Glass for me, when I went back and I just played it for shits and giggles as a speed run, I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, wow, I wish I could slow down because I really enjoy this raid. And so I think I'm gonna go back now that there's the reset, and I'll probably play it tonight before I go to bed. But I'm really excited about playing the Vault of Glass. I'm really with you guys when we talk about it being a higher, hopefully getting a higher damage, in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would love to see that.
Some of these changes are going to make it really nice to run again.
Like there is a part of me that is saying, well, they're making fixes to these raids. They're showing us that we are going to be able to upgrade those raid weapons. Are they going to give us these level 34 raids? Like it would work right now if they did it.
Mm-hmm.
They're lacking a raid right now, so it'd be a good time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but it'd be great.
It'd be really cool if they did. I'm not going to say like, oh, that's probably easy to code. I know nothing about coding, and I really sucked just trying to make the Hello World intro to my HTML web page. So the other big change that came with this patch, aside from the fun ball in the tower, PvP changes. Have any of you guys actually gotten to play the patch? I know we all got kind of screwed over by the download times, but have any of you guys stepped foot in the Crucible?
I didn't.
I have yet to. I've seen a lot of gameplay, but I've yet to get in there and play myself. I will say that the best changes are the visual changes, I think, for the crates. I think you can see when the crate's going to come out. It's got a nice little timer on it. It lets you know. I think that the special change, again, I mean, I think that's a good change. It sort of changes the shotgun, maybe rampancy that has been the experience of a lot of players recently. It's still there, but it's less.
So I actually got to play about 5 or 6 matches before the podcast started. I wanted to get my feet wet in there to see what happened, and we only had one shotgun blink user, and he only did that for like maybe 30 seconds total out of the 8-minute match, because he just didn't have ammo to continuously do it. He couldn't go into every single encounter as a blink shotgun user. He had to use his primary, which unfortunately he was also really good at, and he was using Red Death, so ouch. But still, at the same time, you can already visibly see how people are changing their play styles to it. I will say that of the maps I played, at least I was only doing 3v3, so I don't know if this applies to any of the other places, but I think they might have overdone it with also removing a bunch of the special ammo crates, because right now there's only 3 on pretty much all the maps that I played.
That's right. They did tone it down. I was reading that.
So normally I think there would be 5 or 6 on those maps. Nope, there were only 3, and they're all moved, so you're gonna have to learn where all the new special ammo places are. By the way, they took out a bunch of them, and even though my team and we were calling out, "Hey, special ammo over here, gonna pick it up," and there's an increased radius to it, you still kind of felt starved for special ammo, which I think is a good thing. I just really hope that it starts to foster a little bit more team play from people. Hey, people, use the voice chat. Hit your button to bring up your ghost. And then then hit left or no, then hit right on the D-pad. Use voice chat, please. Just because I want to actually hear people talking in the Crucible, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna pop this special ammo chest. Get in range."
Yeah, I think the new specials add sort of a new meta to the game, whereas as heavy was originally that point of the game. They changed the brick time to how long it stays down on the ground. So if I'm not mistaken, special stays for 20 seconds, and heavy stays for 30. So it eliminates that. And what they were trying to do, if I read it right, was you now expect when heavy is going to be up. So after heavy was down, after a certain point, the game will go back to its normal functions of primary and secondary weapons. Originally people would kind of like wait and then use it later to just keep up that heavy onslaught. So I think it's a good change. We sort of talked about this, I think, in the past, but all in all, I think what they're doing is, if private servers are really something that they're actively looking at, I think prior to private servers, they have to figure out a way to balance the game.
I mean,
in terms
private
of the best
matches,
way
not private servers.
Yeah, private matches. Sorry, sir. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, too much Battlefield. My bad. But I think it means that they're actively concerned in what that PvP portion of the community has been sort of talking about, or maybe ask and say maybe this should be looked
I
at.
will say that I will probably not be seeing any final round sniper rifle abusers. Like we're not going to be seeing people that are only using their final round sniper in just the final round mode anymore. We're probably only going to be seeing it as an actual sniper rifle.
And I mean, honestly, guys, isn't that really what
that's what we wanted?
I mean, isn't that really what we want? I mean,
yes.
in PvP, I'm thinking what needs to happen for Destiny to be competitive, and for competitive players to stick around, and that's you can't. There's no. I mean, I understand someone killing me every once in a while with their super because they panicked and whatever they only
happens like once every 3 matches anyway. It's not often. You just remember those occurrences.
But I do remember consistently, being killed, by a shotgun or these. I understand secondaries should be powerful options that are used in limited circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Or specialty events. And they just became, I know we've gone over this so many times and I don't want to rehash it, but I think that I really support the changes that they've made, and the more scarce. I really liked Halo's gameplay, Halo 3's gameplay, Halo 2, and the more they get closer to that concept of the specialty ammo dictating the flow of the game and your team having to position itself to get it is going to make that meta of the game, that PvP game, much more attractive to hardcore players.
It also makes those crossover weapons where they're like a shotgun that can be used as a primary or a sniper that can be used as a primary much more valuable now.
Like I'm interested to see how people are going to be using those crossover weapons because, like say you run a shoddy sniper with Universal Remote and Praetus Revenge. That's a pretty popular combo right there. You know, you're now going to have to really, really think about using your secondary. So that means you're going to have to be putting yourself into more encounters where Universal Remote, since it's your primary, is going to be more advantageous to you. So you might not actually even need to use Praetus a lot more. You know, there's a lot of things that are going to happen just from this heavy ammo, or just from this
your primary choice is going to be much more important than it was previously.
Like I'm questioning right now, my use of Hawkmoon. Do I really want that when I could be getting, Invective? I'm sorry, but it's true.
Wow.
I said
What are
it.
you talking
I
about
said
right
it.
now.
Join
No.
Xbox. Join us.
Like I'm questioning my use of it as a legitimate question. Okay, what is Hawkmoon bringing to the table, as far as an exotic goes? When both Invective and Icebreaker regenerate special weapon ammo, so I know I'll always have it in those situations when I need to have special weapon ammo. I'm not going to have to scrounge around the map and let that dictate how I play the game. So there's a lot of interesting choices that are going to be coming up here once people actually start playing it.
They really changed the metagame up with this. This is great. This really is great. This combined with the weapon balancing that we just got, I mean, it's like a completely different world.
Compare the game now to like whenever the pulse rifle thing happened. Like compare the game.
Yeah.
Compare these two instances of the game. Completely different as far as PvP goes. Completely different. I will say I really do enjoy like the countdown timers that are on the ammo boxes. Basically, for heavy ammo, you can go up to it and you can see it. You can see an actual countdown timer on it if you're within like a certain range of it, and then
so it'll tell you like it's a minute away.
Yeah, like if you go up to it right as the match starts, where heavy ammo would spawn, it'll say like 2 minutes 45 seconds over it, and then as the timer gets closer, the little badge kind of pops up on your screen, and it has a very visible countdown timer that says, okay, it'll be coming in 15 seconds from now, and
and it calls out who picks up the heavy ammo.
It shows it on the screen, so normally where you would see in the kill feed where someone would say so and so generated X amount of orbs, you'd see the red name has picked up heavy ammo, so you know how many players on the other team picked up heavy ammo. Okay, so this should be interesting. We might see people delay their heavy ammo pickup so they can, like, as far as actually popping the chest, so they can try to count which exact members are picking up heavy ammo on the other team. So like that's another strategy that might start happening, because if you all pick it up, it's going to flood the chat and you're not going to be able to get any good information off of it.
Okay.
It's true.
Interesting.
I think the final thing we're talking about, Destiny being really competitive here. I think the final thing they need to take a look at, for me personally, is how the exotics operate. I'm not saying in a perfect world, in my perfect world, I would not have exotics in the game, and I would just have standard legendary loadouts with set perks on them, depending on the weapon archetype in that class. But I personally think that the last word in the Thorn, I haven't had my hands on the Hawkmoon, so I can't talk about that. But I say the last word on the Thorn are a bit too effective as primaries in the game, and I still view them as crutch weapons that, in my opinion, hasn't changed over 7 months. So
I'm gonna actually be in agreement with you there. Like all the exotic hand cannons, I feel are still too strong, and it's very difficult to balance. Well, it's easy to balance Thorn, just make it not kill you in 2 headshots. I think that's fair. But like last word is meant to be that close range dominating thing, but then it also has that bug associated with it where you get the 2 headshots, and it counts as hip firing. And I think Hawkmoon is honestly the perfect balance between all of them. Yes, it hits incredibly hard, but you're only going to 2-shot someone if you get lucky.
I feel Hawkmoon is really good, but it's an exotic,
Yeah,
so it should be.
it's how an
And-
exotic should be, honestly.
Yeah. And I think the last word could be good. Like, it could be fine if they just nerf the range on that thing significantly. It just feels like it kills from too far away too quickly.
Let's not get carried away here, all right?
No, I want to get carried away.
No. Like, we can talk about, other guns, right? We can talk about other guns.
I really want to focus in right on the last word, though.
No, let's just move away from the last word and just kind of, hopefully nobody at Bungie notices it and it stays just the way
Bungie,
it is.
Take a look, please.
I will say, have you guys, not even just today, but like auto rifles they're extinct in PvP. You see someone using an auto rifle and they're like, okay, either you don't read patch notes, you don't pay attention to the game at all, or you just came back after a 2-month absence.
They're not that bad. I still use them on occasion. They're not that bad.
You're challenging yourself.
Or you're just challenging yourself. Like, I challenged myself today trying to get footage for a Suros regime review. And I really challenged myself because we kept going up against people with Hawkmoon and Thorn and Last Word. And let me tell you, you can't compete against that with Suros right now.
Yeah, they. I think if they are to take a look at the hand cannons and typically the exotic ones, maybe they won't, but they need to avoid nerfing them into uselessness.
Yeah.
Kind of how the ARs are now, in my opinion. The ARs are still semi-useful, but in terms of like you could just pick up any other weapon. You could pick up a pulse rifle, a hand cannon, whatever you wanted, and a scout rifle, and do way better. And just by picking up that weapon, and I as much as I want them to like take a look at the Last Word and the Thorn, I don't want to make it, or I don't want them to make it so no one uses it anymore. I don't want that.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard with the hand cannons because there's so little room to play with. If you nerf it too much, you're changing it like by a full shot of
right.
Its time to kill it's such a big shift.
It's because
it's always going to be
it's a highly skill intensive weapon. Like, something, hand cannons have more bullet magnetism, whatever. You're still having to like pull the trigger for each shot. You're still having to mainly go for the head so you can get maximum damage, or else your time to kill is that of an auto rifle for the most part.
Well, that's where the Suros is right now. Is you have to kill with headshots only.
You have to hit headshots with Suros. That's what I learned from that video.
Yeah.
Or from doing PvP footage is if you're going for body shots, you're doing it wrong.
No, yeah, you can't succeed that way. But if you are accurate with it, and Suros gives you the opportunity to be
absolutely.
accurate. It's the easiest gun to be accurate with. You can be successfto with Suros. It's not that bad. It's not as good as it used to be. It's not as good as
it's only doing it's only doing 30 to the head per shot. Whereas, say you go with Red Death, which does 36 to the head per shot in the burst.
Times three.
It's a little bit crazy to see that different power level.
Yeah. I think they should bring the auto rifles back to where they were damage wise, but just nerf the range.
I think
so they're powerful at close range, but just
they said they
range.
wanted auto rifles to be a more close range weapon and one for the less skilled players. So if you're not really interested in PvP, you mainly do whatever, you mainly do raids or other PvE activities, and your main thing is an auto rifle, you should still be able to go in PvP and be successful with it. And right now you can't. You simply can't. You're going to have a very horrible time. So yeah, just not, bring them up. Bring them up a little bit, guys. Dial it up some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make them viable.
Although you do have to be aware of the power creep that happens when you do that. The other game I play, Magic the Gathering, they've kind of suffered from that, where it used to be in 1998. If you had a creature that could deal 4 damage and could take 4 damage, it was going to cost you like a lot of resources to play. Now it's like, a 4/4, yeah, that's easy. That's like 2 resources to play for the most part.
That's what was surprising to me about the upgrade path for legendaries. I just always assumed they would never do it because they wanted to keep moving
forward.
They wanted to learn from the experiences like Fatebringer and move along with that knowledge to see them continue to pull Fatebringer along is shocking to me. I love the gun too, but it's just so
we
hard
can talk
to make
about
another
Fatebringer
choice.
all you want, right? We can talk about the last word, but don't bring up Fatebringer. Okay,
I mean,
that's good. I understand.
I think it's a really difficult argument to make on either side. I don't like the way auto rifles operate now. Personally, I pre Suros patch when it was doing 36 or whatever, I think that's too much.
I was thinking 34 would be a good happy medium.
That's probably the good medium. Yeah, but in the spot it's in now, that's a lot of that's also another complaint of the community as they've been complaining about auto rifles. Like when are auto rifles getting a look at?
That was one of the
again?
biggest questions for us to ask Deej, and unfortunately he had to leave before we could move on to some of the other questions. But yeah, like auto rifles, they kind of need to be readdressed. I never thought I'd say it in a manner supporting auto rifles, but yeah.
Well, you want every weapon to be viable, right?
Yeah.
You want that. The more variety there is, the more fun you can have.
Instead of right now, if I get an auto rifle as a reward for the end of a nightfall or something, I'm like, shards, immediately shards. I don't care about it. Whereas, due to the pulse rifle buff, if I get a pulse rifle now, what I used to regard as trash, or man, this has really good perks on it. Too bad it's X archetype of weapon. I'm gonna just nuke it. We need to see that for auto rifles as well now. And we need to see it for all types of auto rifles. We need to see it for the slow rate of fire. We need to see it for the high rate of fire. We need to see it for the medium rate of fire. I think that's something that they kind of struggled with that retuning of auto rifles that they did, is that they just overdid it on all accounts.
Yeah, I think they got it. They almost got it right? They just pushed a little too far with it. They were close.
There's a certain type of design aesthetics which is that I was taught in art school, and that was just you fix things in leaps and bounds. When I'm doing color darkroom photography and I'm trying to balance the white balance of a picture by incrementally adding more red to the picture, you don't do it by one or two filter stops. You do it by a giant turn of the dial that brings it up to 200 or something like that, to know where too much is. And I think they kind of did that here, honestly. So they know they've gone too far, but they also know where too good is as well now. So find that happy medium.
So now it's just dialing it in. Perfect.
I'm sure they'll get there. It's just going to take time. Weapon balancing is a thing that's going to take a long time, man. It is. It takes, especially new FPSs, it takes them forever to do stuff like this because
some games never get it.
Yeah, Battlefield, I think, I hate to bring that up, but that's a pretty good example of not getting weapon balance.
Yeah.
So I think it's at the point where, PvP is enjoyable, it's fun, and, it's not broken. And I think at the current standpoint, that's a pretty good position to be in.
Basically the only bad things we can say about Crucible right now are we don't have private matchmaking, and the netcode issues of the peer-to-peer connections is something that is pretty heavy that needs to be addressed. But the other major concerns, auto rifles, they kind of suck now. It's
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it used to be, pages upon pages of things to be fixed in the Crucible, but now it can be boiled down to a handful of issues that we're making progress on this, guys. This is pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. I think that brings the end of the podcast now. We've been going on for a pretty good time. I think we got some really good discussion in.
Yeah.
They want to take away and nerf my last word, and they're willing to buff and keep around their Lord Fatebringers.
These things are all true.
Yes. And
confirmed.
PS4 is better because Hawkmoon. Anyway.
Oh,
yes.
Right. Oh my goodness. You can't just throw that in at the end. Oh. And that was Patrick Casey that said that?
Yeah.
I'm going to get crucified in those comments. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the podcast. This has been Patrick Casey with Planet Destiny.
This is Briar Rabbit with the Briar Rabbit channel.
This has been Sir Wallen with Planet Destiny.
And this is Poper with Resolute Gaming.
I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I'm going to go do my taxes. I'll see you guys next time.
Jumping on that early, huh, Patrick?